Hey everyone, here is a 5-minute sequence made up of 5 yoga poses that are meant to help you really stretch and target through your inner thighs. So we don't have a lot of time, let's just get right into it. We're going to start with Balasana Child's Pose. Doing more of a wide-legged child's pose to really target through the groin here. You want to bring your big toes together to touch, and your knees are pretty much going to go as wide as you can get them, so long as it doesn't hurt or constrain in your lower back. So press your hips back towards your heels. Think of lifting out of your lower back as you walk your hands forward and melt on down. So you want to be able to feel that nice stretching sensation through the inner thighs without feeling like it's very painful or hard to breathe, or like it feels like some kind of compression around your lower back and sacrum. If it feels like too much, you just need to bring your knees in towards one another. And breathing deeply here. And now pose number 2 is basically an intensified version of child's pose. It's frog pose, Kassandra. So from child's pose, you can simply lift your hips up until they join and meet at the same line as your knees. And then you're going to widen your feet, making that little frog stance. So I'm flexing my feet, keeping my ankles aligned with my knees. And then from here, some people like to press the hips back. I like to keep my hips in line with my knees, and instead I'm melting down. This is a really intense, deep stretch. It helps for me that I'm doing this on carpet. If you're at home, you might find that it's a little much for your knees, in which case you can always prop yourself up with a blanket underneath each knee, or just doubling up your yoga mat. And you can play around here with how deeply you go into this pose. All of these poses that we're doing here are yin yoga poses, which means you could hold each one for 3 to 5 minutes if you'd like. But this is meant to be a short, simple sequence, so we're just doing a few breaths. And you can go ahead and come back up onto your palms from here. And we're going to bring our legs in. Let's come into our third pose, a seated wide-legged forward fold, Upavishta Konasana. Widen your legs as much as they can go until you get that nice opening and stretch into the adductors through the legs. And you might work on the pose by simply staying upright, or you can initiate a forward fold. I'm doing these more in the yin style, where I'm letting myself fold naturally, not pushing, not pulling, really letting the gravity do the work for me. And you can push your hands into the floor to lift yourself up. And from here, we transition into our fourth pose, which is deer pose. So you can just bend your knees a little bit here, so your feet, only the heels are touching towards the mat, and you're going to rotate yourself over towards the right. So I have my right knee aligned to my right hip. My knee is bent at a 90-degree angle, so I'm pretty much parallel to the top of the mat. And same thing with the back leg here. My knee and my hip are in line. My shin is parallel to the longer edge of the mat. And really working towards that inner groin area, you're going to walk your hands back behind you until you feel that nice stretching sensation. And you might be able to lie all the way down flat. I like to just rest on my hands, making the pose a little bit more comfortable to hold, but still really effective. And you can walk your hands back in. Switching to the other side, you're just going to rotate up onto your heels and drop your knees over to the other side. So again, shins parallel to the short and long edge of your mat, knees are in line with the hips, and you're just walking your hands back, maybe coming down to your forearms or all the way down. Try to breathe into that sensation that you feel through that inner right thigh. We don't do a lot of internal rotation in yoga, so this is a super beneficial pose to practice regularly. And you can lift your way back up. Finally, fifth pose, Ananda Balasana, your happy baby pose. You can lower all the way down onto your back. And you're going to widen your knees as you bring them in towards your shoulders. And maybe for you, you're already feeling enough sensation and simply want to hold here. If you'd like to intensify this for the full expression of the pose, you're going to wrap your two-piece fingers around your big toes, stacking your ankles over your knees and using your elbows to press your thighs open a little bit wider while at the same time pulling them down. Try to keep your tailbone pressing to the floor and your head and shoulders relaxed. So a lovely pose to get in through the groin and inner thighs. One last option for you here would be to straighten the legs as you open up. And let's go ahead and release. I'm just going to come up to take a seat. And there you have it, a very simple, short 5-minute sequence with 5 yoga poses to help you improve flexibility and really stretch out through the groin and through the inner thighs. I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe and I'll practice again with you very soon.